Adam Silver, he's got a plan. Adam Silver's got a vision to reinvent the NBA, and he actually revealed the vision right here on Fox Sports Radio. Now, I don't know if you were listening or not, maybe not, but the commissioner, Adam Silver, had an idea on how long the game should be. He spoke to Fox Sports Radio colleague Dan Patrick, and here's how that conversation sounded. Take a listen.
Something else that I'm a fan of, and I'm probably in a minority, as we get more involved in global basketball, the NBA is the only league that plays 48 minutes. And I am a fan of 4 10-minute quarters. I'm not sure that many others are. I mean, putting aside what it means for records and things like that, I think that a 2-hour format for a game is more consistent with sort of modern television habits. I don't think people in arenas aren't asking us to shorten the game, but I think as a television program, being 2 hours, it's Olympic basketball is 2 hours. But it's such a dramatic change to the game. I mean, I think something like that would have to be talked more about over time.
Okay, so more over time. By the way, NBA games this season have run 2 hours and 16 minutes. Your average NBA game, 2 hours and 16 minutes, which is almost the same as it's been for the last 15 years. The average time a game in the NBA, 2 hours, right around 2 hours and 16, 2 hours and 15 minutes, give or take. So let us discuss the question. Adam Silver, as you just heard, we played the audio for you. Adam Silver suggesting that the NBA could shorten games to 10-minute quarters. How does that sound to you? So I've got camouflaging, crocodile, and steering wheel, and we'll combine all of these things together. And we are going to make a layup, a wide-open layup, which is very hard to miss, a wide-open layup. You're right under the basket. Very hard to miss that. So my first thought is Adam Silver is bonkers. That's my first thought. Your product is not good. You're trying to shorten the product. It's essentially watering down the beer as a bartender. You want to water down the beer. That you want to make more money, and you're like, well, it's all about TV, and you're the NBA. Shouldn't international basketball follow you rather than vice versa? Are you admitting that your product is so crap bag as the NBA product that you want to follow international basketball? Who cares about that? You're supposed to set you're supposed to set the way in that world. But the other thing, which is rather obvious, is the underlying condition that the NBA has, and Adam Silver, under his watch, he has been such a player-friendly commissioner that the quality control has become terrible in that business. And that's under his watch, and a lot of the basketball media lick his toes, and so they don't want to bring this up because they love Adam Silver because he's so nice to them as well. The product is bad. The players are apathetic to the regular season. It's a nuisance to them. Load management. I saw this the other night. I didn't bring it up on the show, but I thought it was perfect. I was watching some of the Lakers-Sixers game the other night in Philly, and they had a stat that I saw. I think I saw this on the broadcast, although I saw it on the internet too, so maybe it was from the internet. But Joel Embiid, who is really, to me, the poster boy for this generation of the NBA, he is the face of this generation of the NBA. Now, what do I mean by that? Joel Embiid has missed 47% of his career because of either load management or injury. He's missed over 400 games now. I think it's right at 400 in his career. And that is the epitome of what the modern NBA is right there. That is it. And Adam Silver supported that for years, and then they tried to put the toothpaste back in the tube a couple years ago, couldn't do it. So here we are. We're at a fork in the road. We're at a crossroads for Adam Silver. You make the call. You're the commissioner of the NBA. Do you stay true to your high standards and say, we're not going to change the amount of time in an NBA game? Or do you bend over to television? But really, this is not about TV. This is about the players. It's not about the TV. It's about the players. Sounds, based on what we played, that Adam Silver is leaning heavily, the pendulum is leaning towards lowering your standards and camouflaging this by claiming it's all about the boob tube, it's all about television and all that. That's what TV wants, blah, 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 blah. You know what TV also wants? They want players that care about the regular season. You haven't done much about that, Mr. Commissioner, right? They want a product that is quality and not just pop a shot from the three-point line. They want that also. You haven't given them that either, Mr. Commissioner. So now you're worried about the length of quarters, which, as Adam Silver referenced, would completely harpoon the record book. Now, forget about chasing the legends. Much of what we enjoy in sports is the fact that players are chasing ghosts from the past, historical figures from the past. And remember when Kobe Bryant had that 80-plus point game there, it was like, wow, he was only less than 20 points away from Wilt Chamberlain, you know. But good luck doing that in a 40-minute game as opposed to a 48-minute game. But the camouflage part of this is, and I'm just not buying that it's for TV. It's the players. It's too long. You take away 8 minutes. It's less time for the players to play. Rather, most good players for years, and it's not quite like that anymore, but for years it was always your top players can play 48 minutes. Or 40 minutes, rather, out of a 48-minute game. So they'll play about 40 minutes. And then we've gotten into the period of time where we're Mr. Softies. So now you don't really do that. Load management out of an abundance of caution. And so that's where we are. But if you had a 40-minute game, what are your top players going to play, like 25 minutes of the game? Is that what we're looking at, 25 minutes from your top players? Is that where we are? The whole thing is a boondoggle. And the fact that Adam Silver, if I was an NBA owner, I would have a vote to have him removed. Like, you think your product is so bad you want less of your product? Now, this is Rob Manfred-like is what it is, right? Let's play 7 innings instead of 9 innings in baseball. Let's play 7. How about that? In fact, football games, players would get hurt less if we only play, instead of 4 quarters, how about we just play 3 and we'll get rid of 1 and we'll change the name of it and all, but we'll limit injuries out of an abundance of caution. Why not? God, it's so stupid. All right, now, secondly, speaking of dum-da-dum-dum-dum, we take you to Philadelphia where Paul George, by George, for some reason out of the blue, Paul George recently complained about his original team, the Indiana Pacers. Say what? Paul George said, quote, "I've never gotten a tribute video since I've been going back to Indiana, and that was 8 years ago. It sucks." Close quote. It sucks. Close quote. So the Sixers' Paul George, who's often getting hemorrhoids on the bench near Joel Embiid. So Paul George saying it sucks that he has not received a tribute video from the Pacers. What is your position on that? My position is boo, hoo, hoo, and whoop-de-damn-do-do is my position on that. All right, let's go out and we'll get the crocodile, and we're going to shed some crocodile tears for Paul George. You're trying to rewrite history. I support the Indiana Pacers. I do. I support the boys from the Hoosier State. Good job by you. If I'm not mistaken, chronicling the NBA from behind the bully pulpit here, the Indiana Pacers wanted to keep Paul George. They were convinced that they could win a championship with Paul George. But it was Paul George that raised a hullabaloo. He was not happy. He was upset. He wanted out. And so in an effort to pacify Paul George, they traded him. But they didn't want to trade him. They wanted to keep him. And so I say good job by the Pacers to hold a grudge. And let's be honest here. These schmaltzy video tribute vignette things are so lame. They've been cheapened so much. And just like retired jerseys, that was the ultimate honor. Now, I don't support retiring jersey numbers. I think it's lame, but it's even more lame now when you think like Andre Iguodala is having his jersey number retired by the Warriors. Like, what are you doing? The Lakers retired Michael Cooper's number. Like, what is going on here? It's a little absurd is what it is. And so that's been cheapened. It was supposed to only be for the 1% of 1%. And the tribute video, I think of that the same way. If someone dies tragically or they're sick, they have a tribute video or something like that. If somebody is so pissed off with your organization they demand a trade, They don't deserve a tribute video. Why would you give them one? It makes no sense. These things are often nauseating anyway. If everyone gets a tribute video, they cheapen the tribute video quality for everyone else. All right, now, final thought. We quickly pivot to baseball. Play ball! Play ball. Spring training starts in a couple of weeks. Wowzers. And Pete Alonso can be yours if the price is right. Now, Pete Alonso, we learned in the last 24 hours or so that Pete Alonso would like to remain only with Scott Boras as his agent. He is not looking to fire Scott Boras. There had been some rumors that was the case. But he, according to a report out of Toronto, they say that Alonso is happy with Scott Boras, supposedly. And despite his ongoing free agency saga, he is remaining loyal to Scott Boras. So Pete Alonso backing his guy, mega agent Scott Boras, and says he will not talk to any new agents amid the free agency saga. So what does all that mean? So the way I interpreted this, there's a couple of thoughts I had. My first thought is the polar bear is behind the wheel and he's driving the struggle bus. He's at the steering wheel and he's driving the struggle bus. That's my first thought on this. That he's going to go down with the Scott Boras ship. Now, there have been conflicting reports. I knew Scott a little bit. I kind of casually know some of the people that work for him back when I was doing baseball stuff. And Scott is amazing at what he does, but there's some people that are convinced he does not give the player the full amount of information. Now, I've never had him as my agent. I actually tried to get him as my agent one time. He then explained to me how he doesn't do radio. He only does baseball. So that was different. But Scott, there's people that are convinced he doesn't give his clients all the information. Now, this would indicate that Pete Alonso does have all the information, and he's fine with not playing for the Mets and not taking a short-term contract and just kind of figuring it out and seeing how all this goes. The other thought is that the agents around baseball, they also think that there's some funny business going on with Pete Alonso and Scott Boras. And based on, as we're doing the show right now, reading the room, it would appear that Pete Alonso only has two options. He can either put his tail between his legs and go back to the Mets and be like the third guy behind Juan Soto and there's some other people that have passed Alonso by. He can do that, which would be emasculating. Or Pete Alonso can go to a place like Toronto and sign a one-year contract, a multi-year contract with then a bunch of options to leave the Blue Jays after every year, a bunch of escape hatches baked in. So those are his options. Haven't heard anyone else mention. I thought he would go to a team like the Giants or somebody like that, but it sounds like it's either Toronto or the Mets at this point. And believe it or not, February 20th, first Cactus League baseball game, February 20th. Dodgers and Cubs will kick off the Cactus League, and pitchers and catchers will start reporting to spring training in, I think, 2 weeks or so, a little less than that. That's wild.